Ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, and welcome to a series of interviews with artists and companies who will be appearing at LiF 2024. These conversations are about their experiences, influences, recommendations, and we hope capture insight into folk about their work and their passion for improv. A big thank you to Lee and Rob from Rubbish Shakespeare and Silly History Boys, who will be performing two shows at LiF: Story Forge, Making a Myth, which will debut at 12 p.m. on Saturday, the 20th of April at the Unity Theatre. And closing the festival will be Rubbish Improvised Shakespeare, The Incomplete Works, which starts at 7:45 p.m. Tickets for both shows are £10 or £6 for children under 12 and creative pool members, and can be purchased at www.unitytheatre.co.uk. You can follow Rubbish Shakespeare and Silly History Boys on Instagram at Rubbish Shakespeare and at Silly History Boys. You can check out both shows and the rest of the festival lineup on www.liverpoolimprovfestival.com. You can follow the festival on our various social media channels, which are on the website. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy. Hello, and welcome to Rob and Lee. In fact, we've all got glasses on, so we're kind of all in weirdly all online. So you can go to your local opticians and choose, if you wish, these fine spectacles that are upon our faces. Just a brief disclaimer: I do know both Rob and Lee. We work together. They've got a couple of pieces of work in the festival, and the one we're going to talk predominantly about tonight is Story Forge, Making a Myth, which is a show which is designed specifically for children. And there's not enough improv, in my opinion, which is both family friendly, but more importantly, specifically for that age range. So good evening from, is it Bolsover? You're somewhere, where are you at present?
Further away than that, Dover.
Ooh. Where are you then?
Dover.
We're at Dover.
Dover.
We're a stone throw from France in Dover, the mightiest fortress in England.
Oh,
You're Mark Smith, is it? You say you know us, but I have no real
Yeah. So okay. So have you seen
I
the
like
White
him.
Cliffs?
I like the cut of his jib. Yeah.
Have you seen the White Cliffs?
No, no. We've been here a bunch. We've never seen them.
But when you're on this side, you can't really see him. Do you know what I mean?
You can surely walk on the beach and look back.
We've been told we can't do that.
Yeah, you're not allowed.
By our own instincts.
Oh, okay. What, in case there's a massive earthquake and the cliffs collapse on you?
No, just in terms of we don't want to waste a journey.
Oh, okay.
So there's loads of bluebirds everywhere as well.
Yeah, I can't.
Nightmare.
Is there any American GIs knocking around and things like
We
that?
have had some Los Americanos,
Yeah.
but we have not been put in a compromising position by any of them. But
Probably say why we're here, shouldn't we?
5 more days. We're doing some very silly shows about history at Dover Castle. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So part of your show that you're working on currently is sort of marrying your, well, certainly Lee's great loves, maybe not Rob's, because Rob is anti-improv.
Yeah, I think
making
it's
stuff up.
Epic, self-indulgent, and just a load of rubbish. I don't think that.
I am only messy. So, but Rob and Lee both work in castles across the country, entertaining children and young people for holidays and half terms and stuff like that. And it's about bringing and making those kind of spaces and places come alive with laughter. So they're kind of merging the two things together. They're two interests. So tell me, why did you come up with Story Forge, Making a Myth?
It comes from this work in castles, because very often there's not a proper space to perform or things like that. You're never quite sure what show you are going to do before you arrive, and you almost work it out while you're there as well, and you're very much at the sort of suggestions of your audience and things. which is kind of like improv, isn't it? So that's what sort of gave the idea that, you know, do a show devised around what a child audience tells you.
Yeah, we're at the mercy of the audience and wherever we are, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like improv.
Yeah. Okay. So, like a set of medieval players who are strolling around, they have some a loose structure,
Yeah.
and then work off what the audience is giving them. So it's more about. So, what did you fall into working with this age range, or is it something that you kind of a passion grew for it, or what's the driving force? Why, you know, because I know you both do sketch comedy and that's for adults, so you're kind of at polar opposite ends of the sort of spectrum. What's the thing that makes you or drives you in terms of making work for that particular age range?
I obviously am a artistic director of Rubbish Shakespeare company as well. So that was just formed after uni when we'd all left, graduate Liverpool. John was drama, and we just wanted to do something because we were unemployed. And later, it still follows me around like the Grim Reaper. But yeah, I think we've fallen into the kids. You started doing the cat. Which we were sort of recruiting, and we would you agree? And then we did sketch comedy for children for 6 years.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's one of those where a lot of the stuff we do for kids, we just end it for adult people love it. So I've always found it's easy to perform for kids if you have confidence, I think. They will bite your head off like a praying mantis. But yeah, I think a lot of what works for adults works for kids as well.
Okay, so and I've kind of observed over a number of years that children they are very honest in their, and very immediate in their response to something, whereas an adult audience will be sort of, okay, this is not great, and we'll suck it up, and then we'll politely leave, going, that was interesting. Whereas you get quite an honest reaction and an immediate
That's
reaction.
fantastic. Yeah. And it cuts the other way as well. You know, children go in with no preconception as like, oh, we don't like these jerks. They're a bit up themselves. If it's good,
They're most honest audience ever. It's fantastic, and yeah, you can really tell when you're doing well with it. And to be honest, we had to learn how to perform for them quite quickly, basically, because we were doing, you know, I was doing Rubbish Shakespeare, Rob was doing the Castles, and then we were doing this sketch comedy show, and yeah, we're doing it monthly, and it's just the best way to learn how to do something like that.
Okay, so the brilliant David Mamet wrote about, in a very similar way, you know, that idea of 10,000 hours is stage time, and just do it until, and then learn as you go, which in lots of ways I think's a really admirable and probably the correct way of working with a particular audience, is just stage time and anywhere.
Yeah. I think the good thing about kids' audience as well, you can be really rude to them as well, can't you?
yeah, they enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Threats,
yeah.
insults,
Threats of violence. They love it.
So Rob, so you have a podcast, which is brilliant, and I listen to it quite regularly.
Go on.
Called Silly History Boys, the show. Is that correct?
It's the Silly History Boys show, but your title's snappier.
Okay. So, what sort of drives you in terms of, because you're very consistent in terms of what you produce. How many episodes are you on now?
I reckon 87. Wow. With the second part of the Legend of Isis. Yeah, so I mean the kind of my sort of forays into improv really came from doing Silly History Boys at a particular castle. or Stately Home, where we had a script about Highwaymen, which we hadn't really written. So I wrote some bullet points on the train. I said, it'll be fine. We'll just muck about with the audience. And those first two audiences, or however many it was, wrote that show with us pretty much. It was just sort of taking their offers and responding from them. So it's, yeah, there is a podcast, but there's the live shows in stately homes and castles and things as well, which is all very much audience led. But then the podcasts, I guess, are different because it's a mixture of history and myths and legends anyway. Lots of history ends up as mystery and things. And lots of them follow a lot of the same points and themes. And as long as you're silly and there's lots of sword fights, then anything's fair game.
Great.
Is that Captain Blackheart, that show?
It was Captain Blackheart.
That's a good show. It's a good show.
So you're merging all of your sort of passions into one pie.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Finally, we shall do what we want, what we've always wanted.
Yes. Well, we do spend a lot of time going like, well, that's like the legend of X and Y, isn't it? And so for long hours about myths and legends and things like that.
And how that sort of infiltrates into popular culture in terms of like comic books and things like that. You know, the Marvel universe is pretty much Norse mythology mixed in with a load of other bits and bobs from across.
Well, I'm not interested in any of that. Not bothered.
Not bothered. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I'm joking. I'm a huge comic collector.
no, I know you are.
Yes,
That's why I raised it with you. So,
It's a great stuff. Really good.
excuse me. In regards to your experience of improv, so it's kind of what most folk would kind of go, it's non-traditional. You haven't gone down a particular school of thought. So, you know, we've got a great team in Liverpool called Atom who follow kind of UCB style. We've got a team in Liverpool that kind of follows what the Maydays were doing, which is an extension of their learning, etc. So it's kind of more, it feels slightly more like I described, almost like medieval players, almost like commedia, where you
Amateur is what you say.
Yeah.
Amateur.
No.
Chances. These other people you mentioned have techniques and schools, and well, they don't have plans, I guess, but you know there are structures in place.
Yeah.
If you just point us at an audience, we'll be funny.
That's our aim anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. So
we did 4 times today.
I think you do. What I'm suggesting is that perhaps that you have had an alternative education, which is no bad thing.
I agree.
In terms of,
especially these history jobs, the day, and there's just no better training working with an audience, you know, without really knowing what you're actually doing, and then by the end of sort of a week, you've got a show that you can take anywhere.
So, sales pitch. So what should an audience expect when they come to see Storyforge at the Unity on Saturday, the 20th of April?
Myths,
legends, all contributed by you. We are at the beck and call / mercy of your suggestions. And that just doesn't mean shout out the name of a tree and we'll do something about it. You may well be required on stage for your own heroic journey.
Especially when we do the heroes myth. Yeah. What pantheon you want, it's up to you. You want it to be Norse? You want it to be Egyptian? You want it to be Greek? We'll do it.
Celtic, Mesopotamian, not bothered.
We'll make it up.
We will.
Even if we know nothing about it, we'll make it up.
Style it out.
Yeah, exactly. And the offensive accents will be done with British regional accents.
How it's done.
So it's done.
Fantastic. I really like this. I like the sound of that. In terms of getting your participants up on stage, what's the thing that, you know, do you think that young people just want to jump up and be on stage with you, or is that a relationship that you have to develop with them, or is it like a case that the young people literally just jump out of their seats and run to the stage and you've got millions to pick from?
I mean, you'll know the ones.
Yeah. the loud ones, the mouthy ones.
Okay.
Although what I've always loved about what we do is it's the kids that you never expect will get up. Some of the ones sticking their hands up in the air and volunteering, and you get the parents coming up to you after the show being like, "Oh, they never stick their neck out like that. They've never been that confident before," which is always quite nice. Which I think is due to us threatening them with violence and whatnot.
But like the most incredible thing is like when you do get like a child on stage and you sort of begin to work with them as a performer, there's something going on, and audiences, get hold of that and really enjoy it. And if you almost give them like the respect and the sort of control of the situation and things, like their ideas will fly off the page and stuff like that. And it's really cool when that happens. And I really fondly love it. It's really lovely, and audiences love it as well.
And you never know what they're going to do either.
No, so
you can sort of tell with adults, can't you? What reaction you might have. You might, whatever witty sort of what they think sort of witty arc is going to come out. With a child, there's been numerous times where they just do something that you couldn't write, like you can only improvise, and and it's just it's shocking every time, but also it's just beautiful.
It's like it's very, because it's very, very honest and very sort of just comes straight from the imagination. And it's lovely when they're, because we're doing history things a lot, it's lovely when they're kind and they're just like, should we pardon them, let them go, give them a present, stuff like that. And that does happen. It's magic.
And they've got no filter either.
None.
So there's no barrier to should I do that? It's just they will do it.
We'll just, if you say it, we'll do it. That's cool.
What we've also found in terms of when you get in volunteers, usually you're all right about, I think about like 15 minutes into the show.
Yeah.
If you've done a good enough intro and they're on board with you 15 minutes in, you've got an entire audience there you can play with. And nearly everybody in that audience, if they like you, and the kids will jump up and do basically anything you ask of them, you require them to do to further your plot, or if you've forgotten what you're supposed to say.
So ultimately, you're using your audience to generate the material, but also remember what came before. I like it.
Save us.
Yeah,
I like it. Okay, so no, nice. Okay, so you almost sort of hinted towards that there's a sort of that relationship has to be fostered. It becomes symbiotic, and it's, as I think used a couple of times the word beautiful. And I'd kind of, so would you describe that sort of what happens if it goes wrong? Have you had an audience who don't like you?
The only thing that can go wrong is that you get someone up and they don't want to do it.
And even then you can make something with that.
Yeah. So in a way, nothing can go wrong, because we'll always enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, there'll be another show in 20 minutes. So it's fine.
And also, I mean, even if you get a kid up and they're supposed to be sort of the main character of your story, which we've got a few, haven't we? A few shows where the child will be sort of the main focal point. Even if their attention span's waning or whatever, you can just swap them out. There's been shows where we swapped out the main character like 3 or 4 times, and just the audience still see that kid as that character, and you're fine.
Even better, if they decide they're going to ruin it and derail it, you can work with that extremely well as well. So nothing can go wrong. It's great.
Okay, so so you are truly sort of working off what that person's bringing, so playing in the moment, all of the sort of traits that you have within improvisation. So
there is a loose structure there, but I think largely,
I think that's which show it is, doesn't it? There's always so that would make it different, maybe. Well, no, it wouldn't, because we would get that loose structure from the audience. So yeah.
So in regards to any reading for folk that are listening or watching this, so clearly comic books, okay, tick. History books, tick. What would be the thing that, or what's the book or books that have really inspired you in your work? What's the thing that you can, or a podcast, or when I met with Lee Apsey, he sent me through this philosopher talking about the art of spontaneity in how fencing was taught in ancient Japan. And it was amazing. I've listened to it and it's absolutely amazing in terms of like kind of going, oh, okay. So the idea that, you know, the student was kind of always preparing to be attacked, but could never prevent the attack. And then the idea that the student ends up just going, well, I will react to an attack at any point. So there's the various stages of then kind of just going, I will just react spontaneously, as opposed to trying to prepare to prevent myself being attacked, if that makes sense. So what's the...
Musashi would tell you to attack when your opponent is attacking, because that is when you are most vulnerable. I mean, if we're going to have an in-depth discussion on Japanese swordsmen, I think we've got to mention the Book of Five Rings.
He seems on the right side.
Oh, great. That's a comic.
I think you and Lee are going to really get on when you meet each other. So they're up with your musical. You're being replaced, the other Lee.
Oh, has it arrived?
Huh?
Never mind.
Okay. So what books, influences, podcasts do you enjoy? What would other people who are listening to this, what could you turn them on to that they may not be aware of?
Well, I think the Stephen Fry myth books are very good.
Yeah, very accessible.
We've
Yeah,
all read those. Very accessible, lovely vein of humour that
and
sort of
drive
through them.
Yeah, drive together all the different versions of those myths things as well.
And he's very honest about that as well. It's like, I got this bit from Ovid. I got this bit from here. But yeah, very accessible. And maybe not for kids.
Possibly not. No,
certain stories for kids. There's a lot of fluids, isn't there, in the Greek myths?
Yeah. The Milky Way and similar. I really enjoy. I really like audio things. So as a kid, I listened to Tony Robinson read Odysseus, the greatest hero of them all, which is a wall-to-wall banger of the Iliad and the Odyssey, where gangly misfit Odysseus defeats monsters, tyrants, and all kinds of terrible ancient Greek dangers through his own cleverness and good heart. So seek that out. Yeah, I reckon that's...
Is it on BBC Sounds?
I don't think it is, actually. Do you know, I've really struggled to find it. You may have to buy it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So in terms of artists or performers, is there any books that you kind of go, oh, this is my go-to, this is my constant? So for me, I always return back to Improvisation in Theatre, which is written by Viola Spolin. Is there any books that kind of, because I know, Lee, you're interested in clown. Is there any books that you kind of go, oh, this is a good one to go to if you're not familiar with it? What was the...
Yeah, a good one I read recently is John Wright's book, Physical Comedy, which was a lot of fun. Lots of exercises in there that I think about the future. Why is that so funny? I think it's called. But mostly Stanislavski, I think. We love Stanislavski and naturalism.
Two-footed. Beaver foot, good in the air, fast.
Yeah. Everything needs a motivation. Yeah, I think just sort of any sort of theatrical practitioner who likes to make theatre ad hoc, I'm always interested in as well. So, you know, Grotowski and that poor theatre. Turn up. Odd. You've got a crowd. You can make a show out of that. And that's the basic.
Plays the thing.
Plays the thing.
So,
yeah.
Talking about plays the thing, what I was going to say was,
I think our biggest influence is Mark Smith.
You've also, yeah. What I was going to say, you've also got another show at the festival. So you've got two. And you're opening Saturday and closing Saturday with Rubbish Improvised Shakespeare.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about that. That's a project that we've worked on together.
Yes, directed by the fabled Mark Smith. The Rubbish Shakespeare, the incomplete works. In the show we took up to the Edinburgh Fringe. Well, August last year, but it's still kind of this year's Fringe, and did very well for it. So,
Fella from Ghosts came.
Fella from Ghosts was the king.
He came.
And what's his name?
Look at him in real life.
Ed Byrne's wife came. Was there anyone else?
Who's that? The Welsh comedian with the that glasses. Mark. What was his
Mark
name?
Watson.
Mark Watson's good lady came.
Yeah, with the kids.
Yeah, and said
it was great. But yeah, well, that's. I mean, I should probably say what the show is. It's an improvised Shakespeare play. Now, normally we've only done the show to a festival hour, so it's. But I think we've all sort of for exclusive kids at that point as well. But I think we've all sort of reached an agreement that that format of the show, whilst great, is probably not its natural
limiting.
form.
You can enjoy
it's a bit
it.
limiting, yeah, as well. So I think the idea, well, what we're definitely testing out, and we've tried in Wales as well, is a full length, hour and a half to 2 hours Shakespeare play made up on the spot with a lovely interval in the middle, so the venues who book it can make a bit of extra dosh on the bar. And it's a show where you really can let your imagination fly, and live music
within the confines of Shakespeare.
Within the confines of Shakespeare and a 5-act structure. But we've also got live music from the award-winning Bradley, whose fingers are just magical
and long
and musical.
Okay, so you've now done that plug. If next year I was to be fall down was no more, you were asked to guest curate for LiF 2025, because when you were up in Edinburgh you went to see some stuff. What would be something that you'd want to bring to the festival for next year if money was no object? What would be the thing that you kind of go, oh, I really like that? What would you bring?
Show?
Yeah.
I don't want to say because he's been done by the Daily Mail.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we won't go there then. But I know the show you're talking about. What would the other show that you would bring that had elements of spontaneity? And I think that's the thing where the festival is moving towards is, we've got a piece of dance this year. We had Joanne last year who's fooling. It's kind of like opening up the idea of what improv is. Maybe next year the headliner might be a jazz band, for example.
Yeah, we don't want a jazz band.
You fear jazz. You fear its lack of rules.
Okay.
Neither Genesis for the Daleks.
Yeah.
Daleks.
And we found out that one of the henchmen for the Daleks,
Davros's henchman, used to play guitar for Dusty Springfield.
Really?
Yeah. And he's got a jazz album.
Wow.
I was like, why do I remember this face?
It was the name. Like Peter Miles. That's nice.
Because his granny had the
one of his
LP of him. Yeah. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Come on the show. What's the question?
So if you were to guest curate Liverpool 2025, who would you invite? Money is no object.
Who would I invite? I saw Julia Masley this year. I saw 2 of her shows. I thought she was fantastic.
Oh, yeah. She would. Yes. Yeah.
Did you see that show?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Which one? Yeah. She's brilliant.
Who's the lady who got moved out of the big venue?
She was Laura Ramosa. It's a big TikTok star, but actually backs it up with a show just dripping with talent.
Superb. She's a genius. Yeah, it'd be great to see her. We also had some very good. The Tony Blair musical came highly recommended. I suppose that's a musical, isn't it? No, I was thinking of Showstoppers. Sorry, that's what I was thinking of. Comes very highly recommended. And I believe Gracious is a banger as well. But there's
I've
other.
seen that. I've seen that.
Yeah.
What's the one that's gone
Was
under
the,
now?
yes, the Neptune Epstein.
Epstein.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you went to see
unfortunately. Yeah,
that,
saw
didn't
it
you?
there.
Yeah.
You saw Ostentatious, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, it was an interesting one. Really enjoyed it. In the way of yeah, much knowledge of the work. What's her name?
Jane Austen.
Jane Austen. That one. Yeah. I was thinking Emily Dickinson. I don't know. That's like wrong country.
Iron Maiden.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed that, despite not having a great love for the source material that they were working from. But it's interesting to see structures that we've put into incomplete works happen in that show as
Well, they
well.
copied them.
Bit of both, bit of back and forth.
Well,
They copied us, we
copied
copied
them.
them.
We copied them.
But it was interesting to see. I'll just say this: how sort of nervous they were at the beginning. They were fluffing over words and things like that.
They
Before
hadn't even rehearsed it, had they?
No,
They hadn't even rehearsed it, even though their lines.
before the interval, and then after the interval, they were very confident.
I'd look at the script, you see.
Yeah, that's what's. But
This is going somewhere, isn't it? I'm very sorry, we're only joking.
yeah, is there anything else you'd invite?
Well, I mean,
Banana Brothers. You
yeah,
like that
I
show?
watched the sensational or the amazing Banana Brothers show, which was a clown show, which had, of course, as all clown does, a lot of play with the audience, and that was my. Other than The Gentleman being assailed by the Daily Mail, that was my favourite show of Edinburgh that year, the Amazing Banana Brothers. So it would be who's the clown teacher who's involved in that?
Dr. Brown.
No, the lady.
He'd be good. Oh, what's her name? Yeah, sorry. 5 shows a day. Brain's not working quite to the extent it normally would. Oh, she was a voice for the Powerpuff Girls.
Was she?
Yes, she was. Yeah,
That was amazing.
Oh, what's her name? She's on Netflix. She did the show about the toxic fella on the motorbike. Natalie Palamides.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
She's
Incredible.
boss. Yeah.
Ah.
Saw a show she did called Laid, where every morning she gave birth to an egg and she had to decide whether she was going to raise it to adulthood or eat it. And the entire audience became this little sort of picturesque 1950s sort of suburban American town, and everybody sort of had a role as well. And by the end, just turned everybody against each other. It was brilliant.
So, like, kind of that, which is something we haven't really had. I mean, Joe is kind of a fool. I wouldn't describe it necessarily.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Clown,
Yeah.
but certainly for next year, then it sounds like I need to go and find myself some clown. I like that audience interaction, which is the element which is spontaneous, and then you got your bit, and it's then how it's and you listen and respond to and from the audience. A bit like you were describing at the beginning of this, which is, play with the audience, see who's up for playing, and then see where we head, and having confidence in terms of doing that.
I remember the first time I saw Improv,
yeah,
and I was totally blown away by it. And I don't know if you're gonna like it.
The young fella, yeah, just a powerful.
First time I saw Improv was a company called Hoof in Liverpool.
Oh, yeah.
It was that directed by Mark.
It was directed by Todd Stashwick and John Thies. And
you were in it, weren't you?
I was in it, yeah. And Todd
That was genuinely the first time I saw a bit of actual live improv and was like, oh, there's something special to this. This is I think I'd always had a negative view of it up until that point. Just because I think, it's a bit of a fashion as well at the minute, I think, to hate improv. If you're not Rob Bond. Yeah, I think it's the same with everything. Something done to a very high quality is very good indeed. And I think I think when improv is firing on all cylinders, it's pretty special. So
Todd, who co-created that with John, has they've just won some. What's the American? Is it Golden Globes? Is it? What's the TV thing? because he was in
The
the
Emmys and the
Emmys,
Golden
Golden
Globes.
Globes.
oh yeah they've just got
Razzies.
a big award because he's in the last season of Picard, so he plays the new captain who's in that, and he was also Dracula in Buffy.
Oh,
Now you're cooking with
yeah,
now
there
he
we go.
knows.
I know exactly who he means.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
disappointed with the Dracula episode when I first watched it, but then I watched it back not that long ago. I like the point it was making that he's just this overblown sort of vampire in the media who's actually ruined it for everybody else. So that was
Basically, he's the sort of the cliche of vampires.
yeah.
and he doesn't
Everyone
speak.
knows how to kill vampires because
Yeah.
of him and Bram Stoker. Thought that was a twist.
Yeah, no, it was very. I think it was very. I think at the time you kind of get, oh, Dracula needs to be scary because that's apparently what Dracula is. But actually, I thought it was very. I thought it was a good take on it. Okay, gentlemen. It takes us about 40 minutes in. I'd like to say a big thank you to Lee and Rob. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you'd like to add before I stop recording?
Come the show.
From the show.
Come the show. Even if you don't have kids, there's something for everybody.
Yeah.
You'll love it. And if you just want to see us be nasty to some children if they get out of line, that's worth paying to come and see.
Yeah. Within reason, obviously, we're not monsters.
No. Which one?
Okay, Jen.
Yeah, but yeah, please come to the show. It combines all of our favourite loves, and we'll try our best to make it fab.